Good evening, good morning, good night. We are live. There is a Shonapaki on my lap already. We are ready to discuss kitty cats, you, me, us, and physics and Einstein. We have been reading from this book called Einstein's Cosmos by Michio Kaku. How Albert Einstein's vision transformed our understanding of space and time. Whenever we feel ready, we will be covering Chapter 8, which is War and Peace time during Einstein's life and how it shaped everything at that time. Generally, we warm up a little bit, get people to join the live, and even though it is in the middle of the night here in Boston, we still have faith that some people will join us from all parts of the world, and we will share the live on my channel so that people know that we have gone live. How are you doing? As soon as you join, please do say something so that the live I know that this is working. I will also post this right now. Hi. Hello, hello. Hello, my lovelies. Hi. Oh. Oh, Sacha Shona. Oh, Sacha Shuju. Oh, Sacha Kyudu. Alright. Where are you guys? Where is my Finland? Where is my England? Where is the rest of America? Come in, please, and say hi. Okay, I can see it's working because I can see my own comments. Very nice. Great job. Come in and chat. Hello, welcome, welcome. How are you doing today? Hi. It's Insia. Hi, everyone, join live, please. Thank you so much. Hi, it's Insia. Thank you, thank you. Oh, hi. Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. Let me read all your comments. Wow. There's people saying hi. It's Cynthia says everyone joined the live. Thank you. 1975 Zagado Zill says top 10 Hawks in Utah. Are you in Utah? 1975. Lillian says Jesus loves you. Thank you. Nicholas Bonaduce says hello, Nick from Philly. Thank you. Green Play Duh says what's up? Oh, what's up? This is what's up. Hello from Montana says Trevor. Hi. Hello, Rick. Hi, Sadie. Hi, Rick Smith. Hi, Andrea. Hello from Kentucky. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Thank you, Sadie. Says you're pretty. Thank you. We are getting ready for our live stream chat today. Thank you so much. Green Play says hi from NC. Cat Girl, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. We are just now getting started. We haven't said or done much. This camera always makes me look a little, I don't know, some type of way. I'm hi, Manuel. we have been covering a book called Einstein's Cosmos um, on the channel, and using that as a reference for uh, certain physics discussions. Last night, thank you, me too. Thank you, Zadie. Hi, Jeff. So last night we actually concluded a discussion um, that has to do with quantum mechanics. It was a lot of fun. A lot of you guys were, are you a teacher? Yes, I teach physics. So a lot of people actually joined into a lively discussion on quantum mechanics, and we kind of studied the history of how that all progressed and developed. And then we actually kind of finished that up, and today we're supposed to move on to a new chapter and topic, but sort of in the same line of work, in the same direction, covering Einstein's life and the history of those uh, of the science that developed during that time. Oh, hi. Barrio Ledbetter says, look fine to me. Thank you. Um, well, dang, skipped my compliment completely. Uh, boring says X. Okay, we believe in being a little bit boring because I think that, um, hi Raj M, because we think that, oh, hi. I see. Okay, got it. So, anyways, thank you so much for joining the live. We are going to get started. Many interesting comments are made during these lives, but I should warn you that the main sort of discussion that we do here is very much educational, and it's very much to do with physics. A lot of people find it boring, but a lot of people find it very interesting. Stay on, and you might be surprised that it could actually be really interesting. You might learn something new. Thank you, Raj M. Okay, let's see. Did I say hi to everybody? Thank you, Kim Barion, Jeff, Sadie, Rick Smith, Jamin. You're funny. Oh, thank you, Jamin. That's like the most, that's the best compliment. Green Play, Manuel, Jake, Andrea. Thank you very much. So what we will do is probably we will just get started. And Heike, are you here yet? Because do you see me suffering here right now? If you know what, I'm gonna clip this. So that when you see this later on, Heike, you know that I was waiting for you. Finland and England, Reese, also same thing. I'm waiting for you to join. Hi, Jake. So that I can get started and look at the things I have to endure before you come in. People calling me pretty when I'm trying to do physics. But thank you guys. Thank you so much. Here's Baji. Are you married? Do I look married to you? What do you think, Raj? All right. How about this? How about are you married? You know what? The better question is, Raj, are you married? Is there a wife in the picture? And does she know that you're coming to random people's lives? Heike, are you here? Striker, hello. You're not married. Who is this? Is that your wife responding? Raj is not married. I'm his wife. Oh, Baji. Baji's here. Baji, this seat is taken. Usually Baji's on my lap at this time. Usually Baji's on my lap at this time. But then Fuji has joined and taken the best seat of this symphony right here. Okay, guys. All right. As soon as I see one of my physics friends, I'll get started with my physics discussion. I'm so sorry that, as usual, I'm going live at a random as frick time, and that might be interfering with some people coming on or not. But that's okay. You know what? Maybe we'll just get started. So let me kind of recap to you what's been going on. So what I covered yesterday, X says, Raj wants to get quantum entangled with you. You know what? Let's read about that part. This is actually a great point that you bring up. We covered this only yesterday. I don't think Raj and X and Stryker, these people, most interesting people with the most diverse comments, were here last night. But let me talk to you about quantum entanglement. You know, the part that we covered yesterday, that there was, let me see. Let me pick a part that that really entertained people. So Einstein said, I have thought 100 times as much about the quantum problems as I have about general relativity theory. So as you know, Einstein came up with the general relativity theory, but during the same time in the 1920s and 1930s, Baji over here is getting settled. Look at this. He's getting settled. Are you settled yet, Baji? Are you settled? Baji, the main host of this channel, is also here. So during the 1920s and 1930s, all of this stuff, all of this drama with quantum mechanics was also going down. As in, there were big developments in quantum mechanics, but some of the progresses, some of the results coming out, and some of the implications of those results were quite bizarre. And it made people quite uncomfortable in terms of what they're used to in physics. And especially the probabilistic nature of quantum mechanics gave people a lot of trouble that are mostly used to deterministic type of physics, okay? So this was something that people were really kind of struggling with. And in the midst of that, Einstein said this, I have thought 100 times as much about the quantum problems as I have about general relativity theory. So he had actually worried more about quantum mechanics because the findings were strange to him, somebody of, coming from that classical physics background. Wrote Einstein about how he endlessly grappled with the foundations of the quantum theory. After much deep thought, Einstein fired back with what he thought was the definitive critique of the quantum theory. So hi now, Seth. Hi, how are you? Are you ready for our discussion? And were you here when we talked about the spooky? Yes, look at this. Yes, look at this. Ole Baba, এই সোনাটা এখানে আছে. This Shona is here with us on the live. He's trying to get into the best seat of the show, but Fuji has it already. The best lap seat. Super fine, and you? We're good. We're reading. Actually, so now, Sat, were you here for the quantum discussion yesterday? Are you good with that? Are you caught up with that? Or did you miss that? This one is Baji. This one's Baji. This is Baji Baba. Baji Baba. Baji Baba, don't disturb Fuji baby. Shona. Come, Baji. Come, Baji. Come, Baji. So Baji's still getting settled. Baji's still in the midst of his settlement. Are you going to settle down, Baji? Because the people are waiting. The people are waiting for the book reading to start. Baji, yes, Baji. So here's Baji. So basically, all of that to say that Einstein was having issues with the developments in quantum mechanics, but he also saw no way but to just kind of move forward with them. At some points, at various points, he challenged it. For example, his great debate with Niels Bohr that we saw, I think the year was somewhere in 1920s. It might have been 1929, if I'm not mistaken, or sorry, 1930. So in 1930, he had a big showdown with Niels Bohr, and he almost thought that he kind of, defeated the quantum theory's basic principle and requirement of the uncertainty principle. He thought that he kind of successfully attacked it, and maybe it could not be refuted. But Niels Bohr found the refutation to his arguments and won that round in the end. So even though the probabilistic nature of quantum theory and the uncertainty principle that comes out of the quantum mechanics developments was disturbing to a lot of physicists at the time, even some of the ones that contributed to quantum mechanics, still they had to kind of move forward and keep on going. And this chapter with the grand, hello, looking good, says Nicholas. Oh, thank you. You're here. Nicholas, are you ready for the next chapter? Because I'm just kind of recapping what we covered yesterday with quantum mechanics, and then we can go on to the next chapter, which is Einstein War and Peace and E equals mc squared. So real quick, I'll just recap that we talked about the various developments of quantum mechanics, the bizarrenesses of quantum mechanics, the fact that Einstein and others kind of challenged a lot of the things in quantum mechanics. Yes, I'm so ready. Okay, good. Awesome. Thank you, Nicholas, for the response. Even though they were unhappy with a lot of the developments, they had to finally kind of accept that it is what it is, and they have to kind of accept that these are the sort of the results of quantum mechanics. And also Einstein tried to incorporate quantum mechanics or come up with an even more general theory, which would then let quantum mechanics results kind of fall out naturally from it, called the grand unified theory. He worked on it, and he tried to work on it, especially with his grad students. It led to things like the Einstein-Rosen bridge, the concept of wormholes. It's the first mention of wormholes in scientific literature. We talked about that. We talked about Alice in Wonderland and how there's wormholes in that novel as well. I think Baji's hair is now everywhere. Baji. He's like sleeping, but also not sleeping. With all of this going on, basically that's where we were last night, and we saw that even though valiantly attempted, the grand unified theory did not actually come into completion. It was not really fulfilled by Einstein. It was very difficult. It was very difficult. All of quantum mechanics being subsumed in a greater theory, and then actually getting all the results of quantum mechanics, like its different properties, different quantum properties like charge, mass, spin, for all of that to kind of fall out of a general, more bigger theory was very difficult. So we ended there, and the next chapter now, which Nicholas is so ready for, is called Einstein War and Peace. So we'll continue from this book. See, it's called Einstein's Cosmos by Michio Kaku. We just have a couple of chapters left now, so I think we will just finish this up, and then I promised that I would go into more details of quantum mechanics in a separate live, and also cover my own project and particle physics and particle astrophysics. But all of this, I just wanted to let you know that all of this that we're covering now during these live streams, for several live streams now, this one, last several ones, if you go back in history under the live tab, those are all 20th century physics developments. Okay, so they kind of build upon what we kind of knew already in the 1700s and 1800s, from like Newtonian mechanics and the astronomy of those older times. Several people worked on developing those further and getting new results and new theories such as special theory of relativity, general theory of relativity, photoelectric effect. All of this are, of course, Einstein. And then quantum mechanics saw a lot of leaps and bounds, and that's what we've been kind of covering. Now we're going to get into a lot, sort of a more sadder chapter. But it's towards the end of the book. This is also something that this was also the reality of that time, because of course World War I and II were part of that time. So here we go, War, Peace, and E equals MC squared. So now we're in the 1930s, and of course you know what was going on at that time. The world was caught in the vice-like grip of the Great Depression. Chaos was once again stalking the streets of Germany. With the collapse of the currency, hard-working middle-class citizens suddenly found their life savings wiped out almost overnight. The rising Nazi party fed upon the misery and grievances of the German people, focusing their anger at the most convenient scapegoat, the Jews. Soon, with the backing of powerful industrialists, they became the strongest force in the Riksdag. So let me put this phone down actually so that I can hold my book properly. So in this chapter, I'll just warn you, we're going to learn some sad facts, and it's going to be more of the history part and less of the sciencey part, because as you can imagine, Einstein also had to deal with these wars and the results of these wars and the history of that time, the politics of that time, and it also affected his life. So all of this, of course, affects science, and that's what we talk about in this chapter. So it's going to be a little bit of a different chapter, but we will understand the history from it. The rising Nazi party fed upon the misery and grievances of the German people, focusing their anger at the most convenient scapegoat, the Jews. Soon, with the backing of powerful industrialists, they became the strongest force in the Riksdag. Einstein, who had resisted the anti-Semites for years, realized that this time the situation was life-threatening. Although a pacifist, he was also realistic, adjusting his views in light of the meteoric rise of the Nazi Party. This means that I am opposed to the use of force under any circumstances except when confronted by an enemy who pursues the destruction of life as an end in itself. Hi, Nausad. He wrote, this flexibility would be put to the test. So he was a pacifist. He wasn't really trying to, have strong opinions, I think, about like this war and all the different parties. But at the same time, self-preservation is something that he has to do, of course. And I think that's kind of what went down here. In 1931, a book called 100 Authorities Against Einstein was published, containing all kinds of anti-Semitic slander directed against the famous physicist. Because at this time, he's already very famous and established. We've kind of covered what went down in the 1920s, and at that time, he's already very, very established. So it's actually quite shocking that all of this is happening against him. The purpose of this publication is to oppose the terror of the Einsteinians with an account of the strength of their opposition. The document fumed. Einstein later quipped that they did not really need 100 authorities to destroy relativity. If it were incorrect, one small fact would have been sufficient. So, I think he's thinking that they're against relativity. They might have had other more political or sort of racist views, but his main body of work that he was very well known for was relativity, and it was something that a lot of people didn't really understand and would have loved to challenge if they could understand it well enough, that is. In fact, we saw how Niels Bohr understood it well enough and used it to back up a result for quantum mechanics, and went against him in the debate over a quantum mechanics question. But as far as relativity goes, it was good. Even now, like it's whatever. There's lots of experimental evidence that backs up the predictions that makes relativity true. So what he's saying is, if there was something that had to kind of kill relativity or attack relativity, you don't really need 100 things. One small thing is enough. If it actually reasons and is shown to be true. In December 1932, Einstein, unable to resist the rising tide of Nazism, left Germany for good. So I guess he left in 1932. 1932. He told Elsa, that's his wife at this time, second wife. He told Elsa, oh, Fuji. Wait, there's a hair on Fuji. Oh, Fuji. He's snoring. He told Elsa to look at their country house in Kaput and said sadly, turn around, you will never see it again. The situation deteriorated dramatically on January 30, 1933, when the Nazis, already the largest bloc in the parliament, finally seized power and Adolf Hitler was appointed as Chancellor of Germany. The Nazis confiscated Einstein's property and his bank account, leaving him officially penniless, and took over his cherished Kaput vacation house, claiming to have found a dangerous weapon there. It was later found to be a bread knife. The Kaput house was used during the Third Reich by the Nazi Bund Deutsche Mädel, the League of German Girls. On May 10, the Nazis held a public burning of banned books, Einstein's works among them. That year, Einstein wrote to the Belgian people who were under the shadow of Germany, under today's conditions, if I were a Belgian, I would not refuse military service. Yeah, hi Fansky, hi. Yes, hello and free Palestine. Now Saad says Hitler, oh no, yes. So, he's not a very military type of person, but he's telling Belgium that he kind of understands, if you want to save yourself and be part of military service, that would make sense given the circumstances. His remarks were carried by the international media and earned him immediate scorn from both Nazis and fellow pacifists, many of whom believed. Hi, Fuji. You okay? I'm going to clip this part actually. Many of whom believed that the only way to confront Hitler was with peaceful means. So pacifists thought that there should be a peaceful way to okay, that's a good suggestion. Chariots of the gods. Yeah. Not, some people believe that peace was the way to go about going against someone like Hitler. But Einstein was saying that, military service might make sense given the situation here. Anyways, so whatever. Einstein, realizing the true depths of the brutality of the Nazi regime, was unmoved. The anti-militarists are falling on me as on a wicked renegade. Those fellows simply wear blinders. That's what he thought, that these anti-militarists or the pacifists were being maybe a little blind to the situation at stake here. Forced to flee Germany, Einstein, the world traveler, was once again a person without a home. Because remember, earlier on in life, too, he had kind of struggled in Germany with the education system in Germany. He had gone to Switzerland, and he'd kind of gone around already. On his trip to England in 1933, he stopped by to see Winston Churchill at his estate. Under address in Churchill's guest book, Einstein wrote, "None." Oh, you mean the alien propaganda book? Your next book should be Chariots. So he wrote down "none" as his address. Poor Einstein. Now near the top of the Nazis' hate list, he had to be careful of his personal security. So it doesn't help to be famous if people don't like you, right? Because they can figure out where you are and maybe harm you. A German magazine listing the enemies of the Nazi regime showed Einstein's picture on the front cover with the caption, "Not yet hanged." Anti-Semites were proud to say that if they could drive Einstein out of Germany, they could drive all Jewish scientists out. Meanwhile, the Nazis passed a new law requiring the dismissal of Jewish officials, which was an immediate disaster for German physics. So maybe they kind of weakened themselves by driving out all the Jewish people and the Jewish scientists. 9 Nobel laureates had to leave Germany because of the new civil service law, and 1,700 faculty members were dismissed in the first year, causing a vast hemorrhaging of German science and technology. The mass exodus out of Nazi controlled Europe was staggering, virtually depleting the cream of the scientific elite. Max Planck, even the conciliator, refused all efforts by his colleagues to oppose Hitler publicly. He preferred to use private channels and even met personally with Hitler in May 1933, making one last final plea to prevent the collapse of German science. Planck would write, "I had hoped to convince him that he was doing enormous damage by expelling our Jewish colleagues, to show how senseless and utterly immoral it was to victimize men who had always thought of themselves as Germans and who had offered up their lives for Germany like everyone else." At that meeting, Hitler said that he had nothing against Jews, but they were all communists. When Planck tried to reply, Hitler shouted back to him, "People say that I get attacks of nervous weakness, but I have nerves of steel." He then slapped his knee and continued his tirade against Jews. Planck would regret, "I failed to make myself understood. There is simply no language in which one can talk to such men." What? Crack your joints. What does that mean? What do you mean, astronomy guy? Does this have something to do with astronomy? Is this something I know not of? Okay. That's weird. Einstein's Jewish colleagues Einstein's Jewish colleagues all fled Germany for their lives. Leo Szilard. Really? I didn't know that. He liked... That's good if he was... Leo Szilard left with his life savings stuffed in his shoes. Fritz Haber fled Germany in 1933 for Palestine. Ironically, as a loyal German scientist, he had helped to develop poison gas for the German army, producing the notorious Zyklon B gas. Later, his own gas was used to kill many members of his family at the Auschwitz concentration camp. Erwin Schrödinger, who was not Jewish, was also swept up by the hysteria. Oh gosh. So we met all of these people, nearly all of these people that we mentioned here now, in the last chapter with all their great works and contributions to physics, but now they're all getting dislocated because of the war and because of the politics and things against Jewish people. On March 31, 1933, when the Nazis declared a national boycott of all Jewish stores, he happened to be in front of Berlin's large Jewish department store, Wertheim's, when he suddenly witnessed gangs of stormtroopers with Nazi swastikas beating up Jewish shopkeepers as the police and the crowd stood by and laughed. Schrödinger was incensed and went up to one of the stormtroopers and berated him. Then the stormtroopers turned and began to beat him instead. He could have been seriously hurt by his ferocious beating, but a young physicist wearing a Nazi swastika instantly recognized Schrödinger and was able to get him to safety. Badly shaken, Schrödinger would leave Germany for England and Ireland. In 1943, the Nazis occupied Denmark, and Bohr, who was part Jewish, so Niels Bohr from last chapter, quantum mechanics guy, was targeted for extinction. Oh my gosh. He managed to escape just one step ahead of the Gestapo via neutral Sweden and then fly to Britain, although he almost died of suffocation on the plane because of an ill fitting oxygen mask. Planck, a loyal patriot who never left Germany, so Max Planck, also suffered horribly. His son was arrested for trying to assassinate Hitler, for which he was tortured by the Nazis and oh my gosh, and later executed. I did not know that Planck's son got involved with Hitler. I'm obsessed with World War II. Oh, I'm glad we're reading about it then. Hi, Jake. What real honey? Okay. Isn't this the saddest? All these people were affected by World War II. Can you believe this? Even Max Planck. Planck never left Germany. He was like a true German. But apparently his son, because I guess they saw so many of their colleagues were Jewish or part Jewish, that ignore the trolls. Yeah, thank you, Funsky. So many of their colleagues were part Jewish or Jewish that, you know, they were all affected. Like, just imagine you're a German guy, but like you have a bunch of Jewish colleagues who are getting driven out of the country. Of course, that's not good. That's not a good feeling, obviously. But I had no idea. I mean, I've read this book before, but I must have forgotten that Planck's son tried to assassinate Hitler. Einstein, although in exile, so Einstein was in exile already. Um, Thank you, Nausat and Funsky. Um, Einstein, although in exile, was besieged with job offers from around the world. Leading universities in England, Spain, and France wished to capture this world famous figure. Previously, he had been a guest professor at Princeton University, so he had come to Princeton as a guest professor. He had spent his winters in Princeton and his summers in Berlin. Wow. Abraham Flexner, representing a new institute to be formed at Princeton, largely with a $5 million fund from the Bamberger fortune, had met several times with Einstein and approached him about the possibility of moving to the new institute. So Princeton is, of course, here. Oh, that's a great suggestion. Princeton is, of course, here in New Jersey, on the east coast of the United States. We know that Einstein came here, but now I think we will read about how that all happened. Funsky is saying, have you read Mein Kampf? I read it, very controversial, but must read. I have not. Maybe I should go get it from the library if it's there. I'm a member of a bunch of different libraries here, so I'll try. Okay, that's a good point, Funsky. Thank you. Thank you for the suggestion. So, good God. So they were basically trying to, you know, this new institute was being formed at Princeton, and he was approaching Einstein with the possibility. What appealed to Einstein was the fact that he would be free to travel and free of teaching duties. Although he was a popular lecturer, regularly breaking up audiences with his antics and enchanting royalty with amusing anecdotes, teaching and lecturing duties were taking time away from his beloved physics. So basically, Einstein was like, ooh, like if the job offer comes with like less teaching type of responsibilities, then I might just be more interested. And because they were starting up this new institute at Princeton, and he had already been there as a guest professor to probably give a talk about his work and whatnot. This is why it's so important to network and see. Even somebody like Einstein, when push comes to shove, he has to depend on his networking skills and the people that he knows to get a job and also be safe, like for his own personal safety, for his career, for the, you know, the next steps in his career, and to change countries in a time of such turmoil. He had to. So this is why, guys, give talks, tell people about your work, and make more friends. You never know who you'll need at what point. You know, that's how Einstein got his job at Princeton. It's not it's Einstein was Einstein, that helps too, but at the same time, it's also who you know and the networking of the situation. So, One colleague warned Einstein that coming permanently to the United States was like committing suicide. The United States, before the sudden influx of Jewish scientists fleeing Nazi Germany, was considered a quiet backwater of science, with almost no institutions of higher learning capable of competing with Europe's. So I guess back then, oh gosh, wow, we've come a very long way since that time. Like it was considered a backwater of science versus Europe was considered the more bigger center for science. Defending his choice, Einstein wrote to Queen Elizabeth of Belgium, Princeton is a wonderful little spot, a quaint, ceremonious village of puny demigods on stilts. By ignoring certain special conventions, I've been able to create for myself an atmosphere conducive to study and free of distraction. The news that Einstein had settled in the United States was heard around the world. The Pope of Physics had left Europe. The new Vatican would be the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton. So this is the new institute that Princeton got. Like, as you know, this is the thing with academia. They open up a new institute or they create a new institute. They steal somebody amazing, and then that university becomes another, like it up levels completely. I personally, in my own career, have seen this happen where I went to grad school, we stole a couple of really amazing scientists from like Caltech, you know, just as an example. And where did you go? I went to Ohio State, the Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, for my PhD. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Nausap. So, you know, stealing people, stealing amazing people from other parts of the world, maybe another institution, and then using that to basically give your institution a whole another level, another whole reputation. It's a win-win situation, hopefully for both parties, but it can, that's kind of how American universities, what we talking about right now, what I miss. So we're talking about Einstein's Cosmos, history of, we're on the chapter which is War and Peace and E equals MC squared. We're talking about Einstein's life and at this point coming to America. X says, boo, okay. Do you have something against Ohio State or the book or whatever? Let us know. So anyway, Princeton is a wonderful little, so I will say that a lot of people who've been through a lot, when they come to the US, they kind of realize how quiet it is here. Like the US is a good spot to just kind of do your thing. Like if you want peace and quiet, you can have peace and quiet. You want a city life, you can have the city life as well. You know, it can be as busy or as, I don't know, as busy or as, like if you want to just do your work and your business and stick to yourself, you can. It's good for that. I think Europe has much more culture, more civilization historically. So I think there's a lot going on, and there's more communities, right? Here it's more like if you want to just do your thing and be distraction free, you can. And I think he found that in Princeton. Princeton, of course, has a big name at this time, but 100 years ago, maybe pre-Einstein, it was still considered small. I would not be surprised if it's still a little bit small. You know, it has a lot of reputation. Yes. Yeah. On YouTube, I'm a teacher. But I have teaching experience as well. I've been in academia for a while. You should have gone to a better university. Okay, X. When Einstein was shown his office for the first time, he was asked what he needed. Besides a desk and a chair, he said he needed a large wastebasket. Funsky says USA has its faults, but still the best country in the world to live in. Thank you, Funsky. You're so kind. When Einstein was shown his office for the first time, he was asked what he needed. Besides a desk and a chair, he said he needed a large wastebasket so I can throw away all my mistakes. The institute also apparently made an offer to Erwin Schrödinger. Aw, that would have been great if Schrödinger came, but the latter, it is said, who was often accompanied by his wife and mistress, and practiced an open marriage with a long list of lovers, found the atmosphere too stifling and conservative. It's true, America is more conservative in some ways, for sure, than parts of Europe. The American people were fascinated by the new arrival in New Jersey, who instantly became the country's most famous scientist. Soon he was a familiar figure to all. Two Europeans on a bet sent a letter to Dr. Einstein, America, to see if it would reach him. It did. The 1930s were hard on Einstein personally. It seemed as if his worst fears about his son Edward, fondly named Teddle, were confirmed when Edward finally suffered a nervous breakdown in 1930 after a failed romance with an older woman. Wow, kind of like his dad, huh? Except for the, I don't know, except not really. He was taken to the Bergusli Psychiatric Hospital in Zurich. Yeah, this chapter is sad, guys. Get ready. The same hospital where Mileva's sister had been institutionalized. So this is Mileva's son. So his son with his first wife, diagnosed as schizophrenic. He was never to leave the care of an institution for the rest of his life except for short visits. Einstein, who always suspected that one of his sons might inherit mental problems from his wife, blamed grave heredity. I've seen it coming slowly but irresistibly ever since Teddle's youth, he wrote sadly. In 1933, his close friend Paul Ehrenfest, remember from the last chapter, the guy who attended that debate between Einstein and Niels Bohr and had written all those interesting comments? That's Ehrenfest. So his close friend Ehrenfest, who helped to stimulate the early development of general relativity but suffered from depression, eventually committed suicide, shooting and killing his young mentally retarded son in the process. Oh gosh. I didn't realize that Ehrenfest committed suicide and killed his son. Kevin says, you seem like you're a teacher. You would be a great teacher. Thank you. I have taught in the past. Read The Monkey and the Crocodile. Clifford the Big Red Dog next. Kevin, that's a kid's book. And Einstein was a serial cheater. I know he was married twice. I don't know if he cheated on his wives or not. I'm not sure. But okay, this chapter is gonna get pretty serious, guys. All right, so Ehrenfest dies. He committed suicide. Nicholas says, I like to read books with pictures. After prolonged painful illness, Elsa, so this is Einstein's wife, second one, who had been with Einstein for about 20 years, died in 1936. Good God. Everyone's dying in this chapter. According to friends, Einstein was utterly ashen and shaken. Her death severed the strongest tie he had with a human being. He took it hard but managed to slowly recuperate. He would write, I've got used extremely well to life here. I live like a bear in my den. The bearishness has been further enhanced by the death of my woman comrade who was better with other people than I am. So Elsa was the one who kind of helped a lot with his social life, and she was sort of a social butterfly who enjoyed sort of his fame and recognition and probably helped to bridge a lot of those connections. So that's a really big blow that when she died, I'm sure. But Funsky is saying that Einstein was a serial cheater. So maybe he found someone. I don't know. We'll see. After Elsa's death, he would live with his sister Maja, who had fled the Nazis, his stepdaughter Margot, and his secretary Helen Dukas. He had started the final phase of his life. During the 1930s and 1940s, he aged rapidly. And without Elsa to constantly harp about his appearance, the dashing, charismatic figure who dazzled kings and queens in his tuxedo reverted back into the old bohemian ways of his youth. Hi, Lu Chang, how are you? He now became the white-haired figure remembered most dearly by the public, the sage of Princeton, who would good-humoredly greet both children and royalty alike. So this is sort of that mad scientist look. That's what they're talking about now. Sort of his hair, all white, kind of going in all directions. Um, that's sort of the stereotypical look of a mad scientist that people know about. Because of Einstein, he kind of gave people that stereotype. For Einstein, however, there was no rest. While at Princeton, he faced yet another challenge, the quest to build an atomic bomb. I've seen it in a documentary. Einstein was a ladies' man. Uh, the author here is saying that Schrödinger was a ladies' man. He didn't say Einstein was. Maybe. I don't know. Us Americans, we don't really like ladies' men. So maybe Michio Kaku, the author, was not going to paint him as such. We like people to be a little bit more, I don't know, family oriented. I don't know what to say. For Einstein, so the atom bomb thing was happening. Back in 1905, Einstein had speculated that his theory might be able to explain how a small amount of radium could glow ferociously in the dark, its atoms releasing large quantities of power without apparent limit. In fact, the amount of energy locked in the nucleus could easily be 100 million times greater than that stored in a chemical weapon. By 1920, Einstein had grasped the enormous practical implications of the energy locked in the nucleus of the atom when he wrote, "It might be possible, and it is not even improbable, that novel sources of energy of enormous effectiveness will be opened up. But this idea has no direct support from the facts known to us so far. It is very difficult to make prophecies, but it is within the realm of the possible." In 1921, he even speculated that at some point far in the future, the current economy based on coal might eventually be replaced by nuclear energy. So he kind of predicted that this nuclear energy thing could be something. But you know, as we know, it will be something, unfortunately. But he kind of predicted that in the 1920s. But he also clearly understood two enormous problems. First, this cosmic fire could be used to forge an atomic bomb with horrible consequences for humanity. He wrote prophetically, so he's making a prophecy. All bombardments since the invention of firearms put together would be harmless child's play compared to its destructive effects. So the destructive effects of a nuclear bomb would be do I support nuclear weapons? Of course not. He also wrote that an atomic bomb could be used to unleash nuclear terrorism and even a nuclear war. Assuming that it were possible to effect that immense energy release, we should merely find ourselves in an age compared to which our coal-black present would seem golden. So he's saying that, you know, these types of prophecies basically, like his work and the scientific progresses, developments at that time in the 1910s, 20s, 30s, it led to the nuclear bomb, which he had kind of predicted. But at the same time, he realized the destructiveness of it as well. You'd be serving a life sentence. Oh gosh. Do you support nuclear weapons? No. She's very pretty. Oh, thanks. X, absolutely not. Yeah. No, nuclear weapons are... No. Nobody supports nuclear weapons, I don't think. Nobody would want that for their own, you know? Last and most important, he realized the enormous challenge in producing such a weapon. In fact, he doubted that it was doable in fact, he doubted that it was doable in his lifetime. The practical problems of taking the terrible power locked in a single atom and magnifying it trillions of times was beyond anything possible in the 1920s. He wrote that it was difficult as firing at birds in the dark in a neighborhood that has few birds. Einstein realized that the key might be to somehow multiply the power of a single atom. If one could take the energy of an atom and then trigger the subsequent release of energy from the nearby atoms, then one might be able to magnify this nuclear energy. He hinted that a chain reaction might happen if the rays released are in turn able to produce the same effects. But in the 1920s, he had no idea how such a chain reaction might be produced. I wonder if people like made him work on this. You know what I mean? This looks like a lot of work to do on something that you don't like, but maybe he was required to. In the 1920s, he had no idea how such a chain reaction might be produced. Others, of course, also toyed with the idea of nuclear energy, not to benefit humanity, but for malevolent reasons. In April 1924, Paul Hartig and Wilhelm Groth informed the German Army Ordnance Department that the country that exploits it first will have an incalculable advantage over the others. So that's the thing, like people wanted it for power, for advantage, especially during the war, in order to win. It wasn't really anything good, but it was for power. And I wonder if Einstein was like asked to work on it. You know what I mean? In a secret way. The problem of releasing this energy is as follows. The nucleus of the atom is positively charged and hence repels other positive charges. Thus, the nucleus is protected against any random collisions that might unlock its nearly limitless energy. Ernest Rutherford, whose pioneering work led to the discovery of the nucleus of the atom, dismissed the atomic bomb, stating that anyone who expects a source of power from the transformation of these atoms is talking moonshine. This stalemate was broken dramatically in 1932 when James Chadwick discovered a new particle. So basically, they didn't know about the neutron yet. Yeah, that also makes sense why. Yeah, they want the heavier. I mean, there's other reasons, but they want the heavier elements for nuclear bombs, probably because then you have a lot. Then you have a lot of neutrons. Anyway, but yeah, they basically thought that this is not going to work because they thought that the nucleus was just protons, which is positively charged. But then the neutron was discovered in 1932 by James Chadwick, discovered a new particle, the neutron, another subatomic particle, of course, part of the nucleus, especially for heavier elements. The neutron, a partner of the proton in the nucleus that is neutral in charge. If one could fire a beam of neutrons at the nucleus, then the neutron, undeterred by the electric field around the nucleus, might be able to shatter it. Wait a minute. Oh, that's, The neutrons are not affected by the electric field. So you know what? I didn't give a lot of thought to the atomic bomb, so I think it's kind of simple, but at the same time, and deadly, but wow, okay. Okay, wow. If one could fire a beam of neutrons at the nucleus, then the neutron, undeterred by the electric field around the nucleus, because the neutron is neutrally charged, doesn't care about the electric field, might be able to shatter the nucleus, that is, releasing nuclear energy. The thought occurred to physicists. A beam of these neutrons might effortlessly split the atom and trigger an atomic bomb. I don't like it. While Einstein had doubts about the possibility of an atomic bomb, key events leading to nuclear fission, fission meaning the breaking of a nucleus, fusion would be to fuse together nuclei, fission, this is the fission part. Key events leading to nuclear fission were accelerating. In 1938, Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physics in Berlin electrified the world of physics by splitting the uranium nucleus. So in Germany, they were already already ahead in splitting the uranium nucleus. They found traces of barium after bombarding uranium with neutrons, which indicated that the uranium nucleus split in half, creating barium in the process. Barium's atomic number is 56. What is uranium's atomic number? Anybody? Hey Google, what is the atomic number of uranium? Is it 92?
Uranium's atomic number is 92.
How did I know that? I don't think about the atomic bomb on the daily. Oh shit. I was right, guys. Wait a minute. 92. Wait, did I do the math? Hey Google, what is 92 divided by 2?
92 divided by 2 is 46.
It's 46. Barium is 50. Hey Google, what is the atomic number of barium?
Barium's atomic number is 56.
56. It's 56. So maybe you still get barium. If uranium is split, maybe, I mean, making barium is pretty good because barium is a very stable nucleus. Barium is a very that's right. It's the first. I'm trying to picture the periodic table. There's up to iron is really stable. Then you have the medium heavy ones, and then barium is sort of the most stable of the heavier one. So it's something when, if uranium were to split and become a less heavy element, making barium is that actually makes sense. See, I know about nuclear physics, but I never thought about the atomic bomb too much because it's a sad topic, but it makes sense that you would get right. So they just looked for fucking barium. Okay. Oh, sorry. That's right. Okay. They found traces of barium after bombarding uranium with neutrons. So they bombarded the uranium nucleus with neutrons to break it, because uranium nucleus would have a ton of protons. If uranium's atomic number is 92, that's 92 protons and a frick ton of neutrons, because those heavier elements have a lot of neutrons. So then you break it with a beam of neutrons, and then you create barium in the process. Hey Google, how many neutrons are in the uranium nucleus?
143 neutrons. On the website nrl.mit.edu, they say, in the nucleus of each atom of uranium, 235 or 92 protons and 143 neutrons, for a total of 235.
Right. Okay. Lise Meitner, a Jewish scientist and colleague of Hahn, who had fled the Nazis, and her nephew Otto Frisch, provided the missing theoretical basis to Hahn's result. Their results showed that the debris left over from the process weighed a bit less than the original uranium nucleus. It seemed as if mass was disappearing in this reaction. The splitting of the uranium atom also released 200 million electron volts of energy, EV of energy, which apparently appeared out of nowhere. Where did the missing mass go, and where did this energy mysteriously come from? Meitner realized that Einstein's equation E equals mc squared held the key to this puzzle. If one took the missing mass and multiplied it by c squared, then one found 200 million electron volts, precisely according to Einstein's theory. Bohr, when told of this startling verification of Einstein's equation, immediately grasped the significance of this result. He slapped his forehead and exclaimed, "Oh, what fools we've all been." In March of 1939, Einstein told the New York Times that the results so far do not justify the assumption of a practical utilization of the atomic energies released in this process. However, there is no single physicist with souls so poor who would allow this to affect his interest in this highly important subject. Ironically, that very same mouth, Enrico Fermi and Frederic Joliot Curie, Marie Curie's son in law, discovered that two neutrons can be released by the splitting of the uranium nucleus. This was a staggering result if these two neutrons can go on to split. Right, so they're now splitting the uranium nucleus, and you can get two neutrons out and go and split two. That's. Oh my god. I see. Yeah. Nuclear fission. If these two neutrons can go on to split two other uranium nuclei, then this would result in 4 neutrons, then 8, then 16, then 32, ad infinitum until the unimaginable power of the nuclear force was released in a chain reaction. Within a fraction of a second, the splitting of a single uranium atom could trigger the splitting of trillions upon trillions of other uranium atoms, releasing unimaginable quantities of nuclear energy. Fermi, looking out his window in Columbia University, mused grimly that a single atomic bomb could destroy all that he could see of New York City. So Columbia University is in New York City. Hi, Paula. Paula, how's Italy? How are you? Fermi is my PhD great-great-grandfather, but I swear I don't really like the atomic bomb at all. The race was on, alarmed at the rapid speed of events. So it's so simple. It's because of the neutrons. You get so many neutrons with these heavy elements. And with ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Good. Happy to see you, Paula. Oh, really? Yeah. I feel bad. They're splitting the uranium atom, making neutrons, and I don't know how they control those two neutrons going and splitting another uranium nucleus and then another. But I mean, now that I think about it, not that I've thought it through in detail like them, but it's simple because basically if you use neutrons, if you realize that the atom has neutrons, and if you thought the atom had only protons, then this would be kind of hard. Because how do you make it unstable, right? The protons have positive charge, the electron has negative charge, everything is good. Like, for example, hydrogen does not have neutrons. It's just a one proton, one electron. Simple thing, right? Now, of course, they use hydrogen to do a fusion type of bomb, hydrogen bombs. But for the fission, I guess, yeah, it's as simple as like breaking the nucleus with neutrons. And then if you somehow get the math of some neutrons out of each fission, I liked your message. You retracted it. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, that one is done. That one is there still. Okay. Good to see you care about these things. People these days are all about TikTok, making money. How is Baji? Baji's good. He's over here, Paula. I'll show you in just a second. Kittens. Yeah. So, They're just making the neutrons that's coming out of the fission to go and fission another nucleus, another. So it's like 2, 4, 8, 16. Like you just keep on. The nuclear fission way of making this bomb is, it's very possible. And yeah, Fermi worked on it. I have to go. Sorry, I have the little time. Here's Baji. Look. Before you go. Here's Baji. Good to see you, Paula. Stay in touch. Message me on Instagram. I think I saw your messages on Instagram. Stay in touch. It's not just a rock, Funsky. Okay. Nicholas is saying. Oh, I feel sick from this nuclear fission story. That would have been so bad to be a part of. I don't know if I would be like good with that if I had to work on it, you know? The race was on, alarmed at the rapid speed of events. Well, because, yeah, in defense or in the war world, things can develop very rapidly because people don't care about normal physics and normal pure science, but they do care when it can make you a bomb, I guess. Alarmed at the rapid speed of events, Szilard was worried about the Germans, who were leaders in atomic physics, would be the first to build an atomic bomb. So they were very afraid that Germany would get ahead. In 1939, Szilard and Eugene Wigner drove to Long Island to visit Einstein to sign a letter that would be given to President Roosevelt. The fateful letter, one of the most important in history, began, "Some recent work by Enrico Fermi and L. Szilard, which has been communicated to me in manuscript, leads me to expect that the element uranium may be turned into a new and important source of energy in the immediate future." Ominously, the letter noted that Hitler had invaded Czechoslovakia and had sealed off the Bohemian pitchblende mines, a rich source of uranium ore, and then the letter warned a single bomb of this type carried by boat or exploded in a port might well destroy the whole port with some of the surrounding territory. However, such bombs might very well prove to be too heavy for transportation by air. Germany was making it too. They had to do it. Alexander Sachs, a Roosevelt advisor, was given the letter to pass on to the president. So they went to, they got it signed by Einstein. And then Sachs, a Roosevelt advisor, President Roosevelt's advisor, was given the letter to pass on to the president. When Sachs asked Roosevelt if he understood the extreme gravity of the letter, Roosevelt replied, "Alex, what you are after is to see that the Nazis don't blow us up." He turned to General E.M. Watson and said, "This requires action. Only $6,000 was approved for the whole year's research on uranium." Yeah, I do. I do need to watch Oppenheimer. I have been avoiding it on purpose. However, interest in the atomic bomb was given a sudden boost when the secret Frisch Perls report reached Washington in the fall of 1941. British scientists working independently confirmed all the details outlined by Einstein. British scientists working independently confirmed all the details outlined by Einstein, and on December 6, 1941, the Manhattan Engineering Project was secretly set up. Under the direction of J. Robert Oppenheimer, who had worked on Einstein's theory of black holes, hundreds of the world's top scientists were secretly contacted and then shipped out to Los Alamos in the desert of New Mexico. Los Alamos is still a thing, guys. If you want to get into this type of work, that's one of the places you could work at. At every major university, scientists like Hans Bethe, Enrico Fermi, Edward Teller, and Eugene Wigner quietly left after receiving a tap on the shoulder. Not everyone was pleased by the intense interest in the atomic bomb. Lise Meitner, whose work helped to trigger the project, staunchly refused to be part of any work on the bomb. She was the only prominent, see a woman, was the only prominent Allied nuclear scientist to refuse the call to join the group at Los Alamos. I will have nothing to do with the bomb, she said flatly. Years later, when Hollywood scriptwriters tried to glamorize her in the film The Beginning of the End as the woman who bravely smuggled out the blueprint for the bomb as she fled Nazi Germany, she replied, I would rather walk naked down Broadway than be part of this fanciful, scurrilous effort. The woman who bravely smuggled out the blueprint for the bomb as she fled Nazi Germany. Goodness, wow. Oak Ridge Labs is more important today. Oak Ridge is important. It's another important lab. Indeed, Oak Ridge National Lab. I've never seen it. I'll have to watch it. I saw Oppenheimer, a masterpiece. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, Oppenheimer is, I've heard good things. I've not seen it. Mutual destruction policy saved us from nuclear war during the Cold War eras. Yeah. Einstein was aware that all his close colleagues at Princeton were suddenly disappearing, leaving a mysterious mailing address in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Einstein himself, though, was never given the tap on the shoulder and sat out the entire war at Princeton. Oh, good. That's kind of nice. The reason for this has been revealed in declassified war documents. I think it's because he came from Germany, right? Let's see. Vannevar Bush, the chief of the Office of Scientific Research and Development and Roosevelt's trusted advisor, wrote, I wish very much that I could place the whole thing before him, Einstein, but this is utterly impossible in view of the attitude of people here in Washington who have studied his whole history. It's because he was very international, like he lived in Germany, is a very global scientist. They don't really like when you're so international, and get important in defense. FBI and Army intelligence concluded that Einstein could not be trusted. In view of his radical background, this office would not recommend the employment of Dr. Einstein on matters of a secret nature without a very careful investigation, as it seems unlikely that a man of his background could, in such a short time, become a loyal American citizen. So, yeah, it was because he was an immigrant or even sort of a refugee and somebody with a very international background. So, that's why they didn't want to involve him in the Manhattan Project directly. Apparently, the FBI did not realize that Einstein was already well aware of the project and, in fact, had helped to set it into motion in the first place. That's because the government doesn't really talk to each other, so I'm not surprised by any of this at all. Einstein's FBI file, recently declassified, runs 1,427 pages. J. Edgar Hoover had targeted Einstein as being either a communist spy or a dupe at best. The agency carefully screened every piece of gossip about him and filed it away. Ironically, the FBI was curiously negligent in confronting Einstein himself, as if they feared him. Instead, agents preferred to interview and harass those surrounding him. As a result, the FBI became a repository of hundreds of letters from every crank and paranoid In particular, they filed away reports that Einstein was working on some kind of death ray. In May 1943, a Navy lieutenant called on Einstein asking him if he would be willing to work on weapons and high explosives for the US Navy. He felt very bad about being neglected. He had not been approached by anyone to do any war work, so like defense work, wrote the lieutenant. Einstein, always quick with a quip, remarked that he was now in the Navy without having to get a haircut. Poor Einstein, he had just moved to the US and they were being so suspicious of him. And he was like, nobody approaches me for war work. What the heck? I'm American now. Poor baby. The intense Allied effort to build an atomic bomb was stimulated by fears of the German bomb. In reality, the German war effort was badly understaffed and underfunded. Werner Heisenberg Our Heisenberg! Werner Heisenberg, Germany's greatest quantum physicist, was put in charge of a team of scientists to work on the German project. In the fall of 1942, when German scientists realized that it would take another 3 years of strenuous effort to produce an atomic bomb, Albert Speer, the Nazi armaments minister, decided to temporarily shelve the project. Speer made a strategic error, assuming that Germany would win the war, in 3 years making the bomb unnecessary. Nevertheless, he continued funding research on nuclear-powered submarines. Heisenberg was hampered by other problems. Hitler declared that ordnance development would proceed only on weapons that promised results in 6 months, an impossible deadline. In addition to a lack of funding, German laboratories were under attack by Allied forces. In 1942, a commando squad successfully blew up Heisenberg's heavy water factory in Vemork, Norway. In contrast to Fermi's decision to build a carbon-based reactor, the Germans chose to build a heavy water reactor that could use natural uranium, which was plentiful, rather than the extremely rare uranium-235. Oh, look, uranium-235. What Google said. In 1943, the Allies hit Berlin hard with saturation bombing, forcing Heisenberg to move his laboratory. I can't believe that they took Heisenberg for this. Oh, Heisenberg was a good baby in the last chapter. I can't believe it, but it's so sad that these people got involved in all this. The Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physics was evacuated to Hichingen in the hills south of Stuttgart. Oh, I know Stuttgart. I was close to there. At one point. Oh my gosh, my leg. Oh, oh God. All right. Can you believe Heisenberg did all this? Heisenberg had to build Germany's reactor in a rock cellar in nearby Haigerloch under intense pressure and bombing. They never succeeded in sustaining a chain reaction. Meanwhile, physicists in the Manhattan Project were rushing to process enough plutonium and uranium for 4 atomic bombs. They were doing calculations right up to the time of the fateful detonation in Alamogordo, New Mexico. The first bomb, based on plutonium-239, was detonated in July 1945. After the decisive Allied victory over the Nazis, many physicists thought that the bomb would be unnecessary against the remaining enemy, Japan. Some believed that a demonstration atomic bomb should be detonated. Okay, that makes sense, like a demonstration one, like a demo one, a demo bomb should be detonated on a deserted island, witnessed by a delegation of Japanese officials to warn the Japanese that surrender was inevitable. Others even drafted a letter to President Harry Truman asking him not to drop the bomb on Japan. Oh. Unfortunately, this letter was never delivered. One scientist, Joseph Rotblat, even resigned from the atomic bomb project, stating that his work was finished and that the bomb should never be used against Japan. He would later win the Nobel Prize for Peace. Nevertheless, the decision was made to drop not one, but two atomic bombs on Japan in August 1945. Einstein was vacationing at Saranac Lake in New York. That week, Helen Dukas heard the news on the radio. She recalled that the report said a new kind of bomb has been dropped on Japan, and then I knew what it was because I knew about the Zillard thing in a vague way. As Professor Einstein came down to tea, I told him, and he said, "Oh, way. Oh my God." Truman was enthusiastic about dropping. Yeah. In 1946, so they just want, so the scientists who worked on it in Los Alamos, and probably Fermilab near Chicago, they just wanted to do like a demo bomb in a desert. I wouldn't want to be in that desert, but a demo bomb sounds like a way better idea than actually dropping one or two. Oh, that's horrible. I can't believe they did that. Oh, that's horrible. You know? Why didn't they just do a demo? In 1946, Einstein made the cover of Time. Ominously, this time there was a nuclear fireball erupting behind him. The world suddenly realized that the next war, World War III, might be fought with atomic bombs, but Einstein noted, because nuclear weapons might send civilization back thousands of years, World War IV would be fought with rocks. That year, Einstein became chairman of the Emergency Committee of Atomic Scientists, perhaps the first major anti-nuclear organization, and used it as a platform to argue against the continued building of nuclear weapons and to advocate one of his cherished causes, world government. I don't know. Whatever you're asking. Meanwhile, amidst the storm unleashed by the atomic and hydrogen bombs, Einstein maintained his peace and sanity by returning stubbornly to his physics. In the 1940s, pioneering work was still being done in the areas he helped to found, including cosmology and the unified field theory. This was to be his last and final attempt to read the mind of God. Aww. So it's like, at that time, it was easy to get distracted by the atomic bomb and all of this war stuff, and becoming one of those physicists who is either like made to work on this or works on it because of funding or that's what's relevant or whatever. But he stubbornly went back to pure academic pursuits or pure. I know. I have not forgotten Pearl Harbor. Yes. Yeah. 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 That was really stupid of Japan. And it was a surprise attack. So that's, yeah. All of it is terrible. But the bomb is really bad. The bomb is really bad. I think it's really sad. They should not have messed with the US. Ugh. Because, yeah, the US wasn't really part of it until Pearl Harbor. So, Thank you for the reminder. But yes. Have you been to the Air Force Museum in Wright Pat, Nicholas? They have a good, they cover that history really well, if you're interested. You've probably been there. But yeah, why, why did they attack? Why did you do Pearl Harbor? Don't do it, Japan. Don't do it. It's bad. After the war. I would like to see it. Oh, you should see it. I worked there. So one of my jobs was at Bright Pat. So, or a few of my jobs was there actually. So I kind of lived there. After the war, Schrödinger and Einstein maintained a lively transatlantic correspondence. You should go there. It's the best thing about Dayton, Ohio. Is the Air Force Museum. And it's very big. If you're into like war stuff, you can't miss the Air Force Museum and the Skyline Chili. Cincinnati Chili. However you say that. Almost alone, these two fathers of the quantum theory resisted the tide of quantum mechanics and focused on the quest for unification. So, you know, they worked on quantum mechanics, they were contributors to quantum mechanics, but also they kind of resisted some of the developments in quantum mechanics, remember? And so they were focused on the unification theory, which they were hoping would generalize everything and make quantum kind of fall out of it. I have a lot of family in Ohio. Well, you should go. Go to Ohio and go see the Air Force Museum. They have a whole wing for World War One, and then another, of course, for World War Two. And they also have some space stuff there. They have the ICBMs, demonstrations, and everything. Yeah, I'm all word out, Funsky. Don't tell me anything more about wars. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. As someone who has been a part of something like that, I don't like it. So, the quest for unification, that was his focus, remember? And even though there were all these distractions in the world pushing physicists to work on war type of applications, the nuclear bomb and whatnot, Einstein refocused on unification. In 1946, Schrödinger confessed to Einstein, "You are after big game. You are on a lion hunt, while I'm speaking of rabbits." I understand, no problem. Thank you. You can say whatever you want, Funsky. It's okay. Oh, X said, war makes the world go round. Why? Why is that? Encouraged by Einstein, Schrödinger continued his hot pursuit of a particular type of unified field theory called affine field theory. Soon, Schrödinger completed his own theory, which convinced him that he finally accomplished what Einstein had failed to achieve, the unification of light and gravity. He marveled that his new theory was a miracle, a totally unhoped for gift from God. Working in Ireland, Schrödinger, so I don't think I know too much about this affine field theory. I'll have to look it up. Working in Ireland, Schrödinger had felt isolated from the mainstream of physics. Ireland is very beautiful, but probably not as full of physicists as he might have hoped for. being reduced to a college administrator and a has-been. Now he was convinced that his new theory might win him a second Nobel Prize. Hurriedly, he called a major press conference. Ireland's Prime Minister, Eamon de Valera, others showed up to listen to his presentation. When a reporter asked him how confident he was about his theory, he said, "I believe I'm right. I shall look like an awful fool if I'm wrong." However, Einstein quickly saw that Schrödinger had pursued a theory that he himself had discarded years earlier. As physicist Freeman Dyson wrote, the trail leading to the unified field theory is littered with the corpses of failed attempts. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I haven't really heard about this, which means that it's probably not very successful, or it would have been propagated and taught to us in school, right? Undaunted, so Schrodinger's attempt kind of failed, unfortunately. Undaunted, Einstein kept working on the unified field theory largely in isolation from the rest of the physics community, because I feel like everything got unsettled because of the war, and he was now isolated in his attempts at pursuing this. Lacking a guiding physical principle, he would try to find beauty and elegance in his equations. As mathematician G.H. Hardy once said, Hardy. Oh, yeah. Mathematical patterns like those of the painters or the poets must be beautiful. The ideas like the colors or the words must fit together in a harmonious way. Beauty is the first test. There is no permanent place for ugly mathematics. But lacking something like an equivalence principle for the unified field theory, Einstein was left without a guiding star. He lamented the fact that other physicists did not see the world as he did, but he never lost any sleep over this. He would write, "I have become a lonely old fellow, a kind of patriarchal figure who is known chiefly because he does not wear socks and is displayed on various occasions as an oddity. But in my work, I am more fanatical than ever, and I really entertain the hope that I have solved my old problems of the unity of the physical field. It is, however, like being in an airship in which one can cruise around in the clouds, but cannot see clearly how one can return to reality, that is, to Earth." So he got older and was lonely, and he wanted to work on the unified field theory, and he had no help. That's so sad. That's so sad. Oil makes the world go round and is the main reason for most wars. That is so sad. Einstein had no help with the unified field theory. Yeah. Einstein realized, and getting older is hard too. You lose your friends. He lost his spouse. He didn't have too much family to take care of him. You lose your enthusiasm and hope and everything. Getting older is not easy. And when you're that accomplished, you're not going to find too many people like you. So it's probably such a lonely time. And he was also dislocated, like he had to move around, like he wasn't in Germany anymore, where he had been there. I don't feel any sympathy for Einstein. Why? Why not? It's so hard to be him. It was so hard to be him. He had to move from where he grew up and where he had his career, and he had to move again and again, which means that he doesn't have friends as much in the new place. And all those people who got distracted by the war, people moved around. Like, you're constantly having to start from scratch when you're somebody like Einstein. What do you mean you don't feel any sympathy? Of course he had a hard time. You don't think he had a hard time? He had a hard time. Being smart is hard. He had such a hard time. Poor baby. Einstein realized that by working... What? Einstein realized that by working on his unified field theory rather than the quantum theory, he was isolated from the main avenues of research at the Institute. I must seem like an ostrich who forever buries its head in the relativistic sand in order not to face the evil quanta. He lamented. So he did not conform. That was part of it too. He wanted his own separate theory, which would be the grand unified theory, rather than join... He can stay. I need the watch time, guys. JS, please stay and keep on watching us. Because I need the watch time. But try to keep your mouth shut while you're here. Thank you, Funsky40. Be more like Funsky40. See how nice Funsky is? I'm looking at your profile picture. Is this a guy? Be a nice guy like Funsky. Contributing so many interesting facts and theories and thoughts. That would be lovely. Contribute something positive to this dialogue. JS. But stay, because I need the watch time. But Funsky, why did you say that you cannot sympathize with Einstein? Can you explain that? I'm still perturbed by this. Generally, over the years, other physicists would whisper that he was over the hill and behind the times, but this did not bother him. I'm generally regarded as a sort of petrified object, rendered blind and deaf by the years. I find this role not too distasteful, as it corresponds very well with my temperament, he wrote. So he became a little isolated. Other people were like whispering that Einstein's kind of like, over the hill. He's not doing, like, people, the thing is, people are so like, they're constantly expecting you to be a certain way. Yes, Einstein was different. He wasn't going to suddenly conform now that he's older, right? If anything, he's only going to become more like himself, be more extreme in his own ways as he's older. He's not going to become more conforming and just join the quantum theory. That's because that's what everyone else was doing. He was never really the type of guy who just did everything the way other people were doing. But I think people are sort of jealous of high achievers too. So I could see how people, even though they like took him in the job at Princeton, I could see how people weren't really helping him for like reasons of spite. People can be very spiteful against high achievers and highly accomplished people. So I could see how it was lonely for him. And he did not get the help that he deserved or needed as he got older. First of all, it's hard to be older. It is. It is. You lose people, it's hard physically, so it's not easier to be older. And on top of that, he's moved around. He needs some help. He's trying to do things a little differently. And people are not the nicest or kindest to people who are already really famous, already very successful. See, because that you're saying the same thing, right? That you cannot sympathize with him. That's why, right? But that's not right. These people, high achievers, need help too. Highly accomplished people need your help too, need your kindness, need your sympathy, need your understanding. My baby! Ugh, I feel so bad for Einstein. In 1949, on his 70th birthday, he's only 70! Aww! A special celebration was held in Einstein's honor at the Institute. Scores of physicists came to praise the greatest scientist of their time and contribute articles for a book in his honor. However, from the tone of some speakers in interviews with the press, it became apparent that some of them took Einstein to task for his position on the quantum theory. So they were kind of against him. See? They're jealous! Einstein partisans were not happy with this, but Einstein took it good-naturedly. A family friend, Thomas Bucky, noted that Oppenheimer made fun of Einstein in a magazine article with such statements as, "He's old. Nobody pays any attention to him anymore." We were madder than all hell about it, but Einstein was not mad at all. He just didn't believe it, and later Oppenheimer denied he had said it. Yeah. I don't think Einstein would take those types of things personally. I just wish that more people had helped him with his physics work. That was Einstein's manner, to take his critics with a grain of salt. When the book in his honor came out, he wrote in good humor, "This is not a jubilee book for me, but an impeachment." He was a seasoned enough scientist to know that new ideas were hard to come by, and that he was not producing ideas like he did in his youth. As he would write, anything really new is invented only in one's youth. Oh, that's not true. And 70 is not that old. I feel like people let him age. If you don't see yourself as that old when you're 70, that's good. Later, one becomes more experienced, more famous, and more stupid. Aww. Anything really new is invented only in one's youth. Later, one becomes more experienced, more famous, and more stupid. What kept him going, however, were the clues he saw everywhere that unification was one of the grand schemes of the universe. He would write, "Nature shows us only the tail of the lion. But I do not doubt that the lion belongs to it, even though he cannot at once reveal himself because of his enormous size." Ah. Every day when he woke up, he would ask himself a simple question. If he were God, how would he create the universe? In fact, given all the constraints necessary to create a universe, he asked himself another question. Did God have any choice? As he gazed at the universe, everything he saw told him that unification was the greatest theme in nature. That God could not have created a universe that made gravity, electricity, magnetism as separate entities. So yeah, he was trying to unify electromagnetism and gravity, as we saw earlier in the last chapter, and also he wanted quantum mechanics to fall out of it. What he lacked, as he knew, was a guiding principle, a physical picture that would unify electromagnetism and gravity, a physical picture that would light the way to the unified field theory. None came. With special relativity, the picture was a 16-year-old youth racing after a light beam. With general relativity, it was a man leaning back in his chair about to fall, or marbles rolling on curved space. However, with the unified field theory, he had no such guidance. Einstein was famous for his statement, "Subtle is the Lord, but malicious he is not." After he struggled for so many decades on the problem of unification, he admitted to his assistant, Valentine Bargman, I have second thoughts. Maybe God is malicious. Although the quest for a unified field theory was known to be the hardest problem in all of physics, it was also the most glamorous and seduced legions of physicists. It is ironic, for example, that Wolfgang Pauli, one of Einstein's severest critics of the unified field theory, would eventually catch the bug himself. In the late 1950s, both Heisenberg and Pauli were increasingly interested in a version of the unified field theory that they claimed could solve the problems that stumped Einstein for 30 years. In fact, writes Pies, from 1954 to the end of his life, Heisenberg was immersed in attempts at deriving all of particle physics from a fundamental nonlinear wave equation. In 1958, Pauli visited Columbia University and gave a presentation on the Heisenberg-Pauli version of the unified field theory. The audience, needless to say, was skeptical. Niels Bohr, who was in the audience, finally stood up and said, "We in the back are convinced your theory is crazy, but what divides us is whether your theory is crazy enough." Wow. They were all trying, all the people who were important in the last chapter in the development of quantum mechanics, they were all trying for the unified field theory at this point. In their own way, I think Einstein still struggled in his day-to-day in the sense of, like, I don't know how many people in Princeton helped him. You know? That's the issue I have with Princeton. Physicist Jeremy Bernstein, also in the audience, remarked, "It was an uncanny encounter of two giants of modern physics. I kept wondering what in the world a non-physicist visitor would have made of it." Eventually, so Pauli, Niels Bohr, eventually Pauli became disillusioned with the theory, believing it had too many flaws. When his collaborator insisted on plunging ahead with the theory, Pauli wrote to Heisenberg and enclosed a blank sheet of paper, stating that if his theory was really the unified field theory, then this blank sheet of paper was a work by Titian. Do you believe in religions? I believe that they exist. What do you mean? But I'm not a big religious person myself, of organized religion, that is. I'm more spiritual. But I certainly believe in religions and believe that they exist and believe that, people respect people's religions. Although progress in the unified field theory was slow and painful, there were plenty of other interesting breakthroughs that kept Einstein busy. One of the strangest was time machines. Oh, come on. To Newton, time was like an arrow. Once fired, it unerringly flew in a straight line, never deviating from its path. 1 second on the Earth was 1 second in outer space. Time was absolute and beat uniformly through the entire universe at the same rate. Events could take place simultaneously throughout the universe. However, Einstein introduced the concept of relative time. So 1 second on the Earth was not 1 second on the Moon. Time was like the Old Man River, meandering its way past planets and stars, slowing down as it went by neighboring heavenly bodies. Including Einstein. What do you mean? Einstein also believed in religions, you mean? I think he was like spiritual at least. He had a, me too. I believe in, I'm spiritual. I talk to the universe. I talk to oceans too. My therapist is the Atlantic Ocean. We have very little to finish off this chapter, but I think I'll pick it up next time. I'm too sad. about the atomic bomb and the lack of help at Princeton for Einstein. Princeton, do better. New Jersey, come on. Massachusetts is way better than New Jersey. That's all I have to say about this. There's only like 2 pages left in this chapter, but I think we'll finish it tomorrow. What do you think, guys? It's like 4 in the morning here. Get a nice sleep. You need it after reading this book. Have a good night. I know. X is weird. John. Oh, hi, John. John Leonard said hi and good night. John, have you been here this whole time? How are you, John? We will finish this tomorrow. Okay, so please join me again tomorrow. We will finish this kind of depressing chapter. We will keep reading and understanding. Oh, just the last 10 minutes? Oh no, John. There was so much drama in this chapter. You missed out our discussion on the atomic bomb. Maybe I'll recapitulate it tomorrow. I will do a little recap of that chapter, or of that part of the chapter here tomorrow, maybe. We all are sad until the minute hand of the clock is so close to midnight. The doomsday clock. Yeah? What does that mean? Threat level midnight. X, you have made some really weird comments today. I'm glad everybody is here and helping with my watch time problem. And thank you so much for all your chat messages and comments and contributions. Some of you have been really kind and contributed really positively to this conversation. But some of you, like X, have been extremely weird. It's the thing about how close we are to atomic annihilation. Is there more, John, than what we have already? Are we not pretty close already to that? Are we not done? But yeah, the rest of the chapter basically kind of sums it up with what they were doing as part of these efforts for unified field theory, the aftermath, of course, of the wars and that type of time. Some other sad news about his life. And then there's another chapter. Chapter 9 is called Einstein's Prophetic Legacy. So there's more. We will sum up more things and some more developments in physics in these two, in the remaining part of the book, and then pretty much we'll be done. And we'll kind of summarize again about some of the important things and some of the current mysteries of the universe still, which I've talked about, dark energy, dark matter. So we will finish with that probably tomorrow. I think I'll finish this stuff tomorrow. Ooh, we'll talk about Susie, supersymmetry a little bit in the last chapter. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. I think I like physics more than history. History is so terrifying and violent. We'll finish tomorrow. Okay. I'm asleep now. Thank you, guys. Thank you guys for joining. Good night. Good night. Sleep tight. Everybody. Peace be with you. Not war. You're welcome. Thank you. Sweet dreams. Thank you. History of physics is important though. Yes. Agreed, John. So I will continue talking about the history of physics. Thank you so much. It is really important. I agree. We must learn the history of physics, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, can you guys please watch my videos and the shorts and things like that too that I make? And, ooh, John, you can still go back on this live and catch up on what we talked about today. Please do watch my stuff and watch the videos to the end. That will also greatly help me and my channel that I'm building up. So thank you so much for your support. Indeed. I'll be sure to. Oh, thank you, X. Thank you. Bye. Good night. Thank you so much. We'll talk more tomorrow. Even though I do get sad, we will finish all of this and we will learn all the history and everything. But I feel sad that Einstein got older. Oh. I am so sad. But I'm happy that he had a good life as well. In some ways. You know, he moved around a lot. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. We will finish Einstein's Cosmos tomorrow. Thank you so much.